Hello, and welcome to The Exchange. My name is Ruby Jones, and I'm back with an exclusive interview featuring city leaders and a very important conversation. Denver is at a critical moment in its growth, balancing urgent needs around housing, public safety, and jobs with long-term investments that shape the city's future. One proposal that sparked a lot of conversation this election season is the Vibrant Denver Bond. A lot of people have questions about what this bond really does and what it doesn't. Some wonder whether bond dollars could be used to offset city budget shortfalls or prevent layoffs, while others question whether now is the right time to take on new debt. The truth is, bond funds can only be used for capital projects, not for salaries or day-to-day operations. To help clarify how this bond works, why it matters, and what's at stake for Denver residents, I sat down with Mayor Mike Johnston and District 9 Councilmember Darrell Watson. Our conversation dives into what the Vibrant Denver Bond will fund, how it impacts neighborhoods across the city, and why city leaders believe this investment is essential to keeping Denver's infrastructure strong and sustainable, even in challenging economic times.
I'd love to jump right in. Mayor Johnston, what is a general obligations bond? How often do these funds get authorized, and where does the money come from?
Great question. General obligation bond, as we call it, a GO bond or a GEO bond, is a regular tool that the city of Denver uses every 5 to 10 years. And it is a way for us to help build capital projects the city needs to build to repair and maintain assets. So that might mean fixing a road or a bridge. It might be building a rec center or a library. And it does not require any increase in taxes. It is just dollars that we borrow. But we borrow those dollars up front, we spend them all, and then we pay it back each year, kind of like you pay a mortgage on your house. But for us, the city is lucky to have a dedicated set of mill levies that we have. Their only purpose is to pay back bond payments. And so when we issue a bond like this, it has no new taxes, doesn't take any dollars to the general fund, doesn't replace a single city employee or a single program. But it does allow us to catch up on the about $6 billion of maintenance we have to do citywide. That's hard to catch up on. It's kind of like when you have your list to use around your house. Remember, you get through Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Saturday is the day you catch up. But it's a chance for us to catch up on a lot of maintenance repairs.
That's great explanation. I love the analogies. Councilman Watson, what do you want the people in your district and all of Denver to know about the Vibrant Denver Bond?
Thanks so much, Ruby. I think the bond, as the mayor shared, is a great opportunity to invest in the health and strength of our economy by really investing in community projects, infrastructure, libraries, things that we cannot do with the regular general fund. We don't have the spread, as the mayor stated, for $6 billion of necessary investments in each of our neighborhoods. And this bond is a targeted process. Targeted focus, and I can say in the fine District 9, we focused on real projects that folks have been talking about for years, but we didn't have the funds to fill the gap. So very excited about the opportunity. Strongly encouraging people to learn more about the GOA.
I see. Speaking of people talking, there is widespread speculation about this bond program. You know, it's occurring amid a very, very turbulent economic time. There's people that are experiencing layoffs. We're experiencing a housing crisis. Some people are wondering why this money cannot be used for protecting jobs and why it's being used on infrastructure projects. So what do you say to address those concerns?
This is maybe the most important part of the bond to understand, is not a single dollar from the bond by law can ever be used to fund an employee or a program in the city. It's only restricted to capital projects, which we mean like capital projects is a fancy way of saying things you can build. So that's a road, a bridge, a building, a park, a rec center, a library. And so we could take this bond down to $0 and it would have no impact on the current budget. But what it does do is actually help grow our way out of the budget crisis we're in. Because as you know, when you're paying more bills every month and you're making money, you got two choices. You got to cut some bills or you got to make more money. And so what we're trying to do is both. We're trying to reduce the costs of the city to bring our budget down. And we're trying to invest in areas that are going to grow the city that will bring more sales tax revenue in to help grow our budget. So, and we think when you have moments where we're not quite in a recession, but people are hurting and they're worried. When individuals can spend less, that is exactly the time for the government to be able to spend more, because we can do that on building projects that create jobs. As Councilman Watson said, this will create about 10,000 jobs in Denver. It's going to drive it up $2 billion of economic activity. We want to be the ones pushing economic growth at a time when small businesses are saying, I'm not sure I can hire their employee. I'm not sure I can handle one shift in my restaurant. So maybe this is exactly the time to invest, but to invest not with the dollars that we could use to balance the budget. If we did that, we would have done that a long time.
Yes. Well, what are some of the projects that you've identified as having the highest need right now?
I mean, I think that there's 59 projects in this across the city, and so I am like Councilman Watson, probably love all 59 of them. You guys love some, I love the others. I love them more. As there in this district.
Yes.
But there's some I think that for the community, particularly I think for immigrants and folks across Northeast Denver, a lot of really significant historic projects. One that Councilman Watson led on will be the Marion Underpass at Louisville, area Swansea. That's the bridge that's going to connect all the Washington Street corridor in Louisville over to Elyria and Swansea, and make it possible for us to do the community-based development while working on that site. We're going to build the largest new park in the city in 120 years at the Park Hill Golf Course. That's a huge opportunity for us for Northeast Park Hill. Key renovations to both the Montbello Library, the Montbello Rec Center, to a senior center in Montbello. The Blair Caldwell Library, which is such an iconic location in Denver, has a big investment to renovate the museum on the third floor.
Stealing all my stuff.
Sorry. So these are all some of the things that Councilman Watson has helped fight to protect and support. And not biased, but they're some of the most exciting things the city will be in this part of town.
Well, Councilman Watson, that is my next question. Yes. What are some of the primary projects that you are most excited about at your district?
Ruby, I want to put a little pin in the last question you asked Mayor about the pain that folks in our city are feeling. We are in a situation right now where there are employees who keep this city rolling or looking at possible layoffs, and not impossible, are looking at layoffs and how that impacts them and their families and their ability to continue to be strong and focus and getting back to the communities that they live in and the businesses that they support. The mayor and I are uniquely touched on this because we have to make some decisions on our budget, ensuring that we are spending money wisely within the general fund, and making sure that we're not doing things casually that would continue to increase impact on our employees who are facing this tough time. And so we don't skim over the fact that our employees are facing some tough times, and it's our responsibility to be fiscally responsible during the budget process that we're going through in the next several months to make sure that we do not multiply that pain for those folks. When is the best time to invest as a city? It's when we really need something to move and generate the economy. You look at a history of the city and county of Denver, some of the greatest projects, the greatest programs, Coors Field, Denver International Airport, building the convention center hotel, none of those things occurred when we were flying sky high. It was always while we were dealing with struggle. It's always while folks were like, Denver is down and out, you have no opportunity, is when we stood up and shined the most. And so I believe perfectly named, the vibrant bond is such a time. The projects that I think folks, your listeners, viewers are going to be excited about in the Wall Street Corridor is Blair Caldwell Library. Our research history library is more than just a library, it's a museum. And for too many years, the second and third floor has not been built out. The third floor is a museum that holds the archives of our lives, the history of our people in this city. And many of those archives were damaged because there was no HVAC system. What a shame for generations, families that kept this stuff in their basement, gave it to us, the city, to hold on to, and they're at risk of being lost. This is what a bond does. There is no general fund that can bring that wholeness back, that can preserve for our communities and for generations that museum. The Go Bond can't. And that's why I'm asking folks to really take a look at this. It's those unique projects that we cannot spend money from our general fund on. That uniquely, if it is not done, our community will have continued harm. And we're open to spread that good word, not just for Blair Caldwell Library, but all of the historically significant libraries throughout the east side and the far east side.
Wonderful. Well, Denverites did play a significant role in selecting how these funds were
Yes.
spent. There were over 6,000 serving responses. So tell me a little bit about that project selection process and how were the infrastructure projects that were most needed balanced against what the community.
Yeah, I think this was probably the most widely engaged public bond in the city's history. We had more than 7,000 people that were engaged. We had 50 public community meetings about this bond, had thousands of people attend, plus the 6,000 participated in the surveys. And so those 7,000 responses gave us about 1,000 project ideas. We then had a group of city employees who looked at all 1,000 of those ideas and tried to cost them out and spec them out. Then we had subcommittees across the city made up of citizens and council members, Councilman Watson side of one, that then vetted those ideas by category to try to narrow down the ones with the most public support and then were the most ready to go. Sometimes people had big ideas that were interesting, but not ready to go the next 6 years. We've also made this the fastest bond. Our commitment is to get all these projects built in 6 years, not normally in 10. We had some folks in the last bond who said, I voted for a bond 9 years ago. Why I had not broken ground on this site? And we share that frustration. So these are projects that are ready to break ground in 1 or 2 or 3 years. So that was part of the narrowing process. And then all the subcommittees gave this recommendations to an executive committee, about 6 citizens plus our chief financial officer, council president. They then narrowed that down to a package of about $1 billion. They sent it to me. We narrowed it down, tried to focus it a little bit, and then the council made some key additions to get to this final package. So it's had every single branch of government and every single public entity has had a chance to weigh in, and we think that's why it's a great package.
Well, you mentioned that a capital improvement plan occurs or is created every 6 years. So this current plan is good through 2030. But what happens after that?
So 2 things. One is the bond will take all these 59 projects and start building them. We'll still have an annual capital improvement plan that we spend each year. There's a little bit of dedicated dollars out of the general fund that we do spend on capital each year. We'll keep moving projects forward there. So if you had a project that you loved that isn't in the bond, it doesn't mean it won't get done. It means it's actually easier for us to get it done out of the smaller amount of dollars we do have in the general fund because the bond has taken up this big chunk of almost $1 billion of projects. So those plans will keep going year to year. And then when we get to 2030, we will probably be time to look at a new bond to say what we need for the projects there. And to your question, we do like that this included many projects that the city already identified in our capital plan, but it also included totally new projects that residents came up with and dreamed up that will now be a reality. Like our Native American Cultural Embassy, that's a completely new project that will help tell the story of the Native communities who've been here for thousands of years. So some exciting new things as well as some repair artistic things.
I can see some of it. Councilman Watson, there are some people in your district and in districts throughout the city who are feeling a little disappointed because some of the improvements that they want to see happen with the Vibrant Denver Pond didn't make it into this round of funding. So what would you say to residents who may be feeling left out or overlooked?
Yeah, what I have been saying, Ruby, is this bond, if you look at it holistically, there is something in every district for everyone. There is something. There are specific projects like the greening of Love Street Wharf. We really wanted to make sure that we can do on both sides of Welton some green scaping, better trees, more drainage, etc. Because this is not in the bond, doesn't mean that this does not get done. And you brought up the point of the capital improvement plans. We will have this as one of the top priorities for those smaller targeted dollars. In Five Points itself in Curtis Park, we've been discussing a two-way street for safety. There's a children's park there. There's the pool, the Mestizo Curtis Park pool right there as well. Families go back and cross those streets all of the time. We need to make sure we have street safety. That didn't make it to the bond, but that is also part of the prioritization for CIP. So when I say to individuals who have projects that are like, we really wanting this on it, look through the bond. Identify the opportunities for communities like for indigenous communities. For the first time, we're going to have an embassy for them. Look at Blair Caldwell Library. We're going to finally do this. That doesn't speak directly to me, but these communities have been begging for this. Let me support them. But then also let me go back to my city council member, let me go back to the administration
and ensure that the priorities that we have, other things like the greenscape movement, like Stop 2A, that your council member is advocating. And I know I've already put a list in front of the mayor the minute we saw the final bond. They know the CIP projects within City Council District 9 that we think are a priority that you should be doing. And we're beginning those negotiations right now. So if you have a smart councilman like me, I'm already working on those CIP for those smaller projects.
Well, speaking of what you are already doing, you are doing a great job so far in a very interesting time. So tell me a little bit about how your time on the city council has been so far.
I got to tell you, we were kind of talking a little bit about my background before the camera started rolling. We had a hot mic, so I had to watch what I was saying. But I moved up from the Virgin Islands, attended University of Colorado, Denver. I went to school, left, had a 30-year career in finance, and then retired after that and started a small consulting firm and ran for office. All of those steps, being in West India, being a small business owner, working in financial services, genuinely impacts how I legislate and how I collaborate and the ways I show up in community and how I hear community. And so I think the most unique thing for me is truly making sure that I work collaboratively with all of my city council members to deliver on things that District 9 needs and wants. We were one of the first districts, actually we were the first, to meet with the mayor and set up opportunities for folks who residing on our streets. 600 encampments were on our streets the day I was elected to Denver City Council in July 2023. And we worked collaboratively with the mayor, holding the first meeting and finding homes, finding shelter for all of those 600 folks. Getting off the streets for the first time ever, you could walk around Five Points, ballpark neighborhood, all the way down to Coors Field, without seeing folks who are desperately in need, and then wrapping that with care, wrapping that with the services that they need. I think having that wide breadth of background, having that ability or interest in collaborative leadership and listening, and then also focusing on outcomes. I think those are the things that I felt most comfortable with. Those are the things I highlight the most with the Denver City Council member. And that's why this 2 years, it's only been 2 years, has been so exciting. Past 10 bills, which the norm is maybe 4 bills in 4 years for city council members, and I got 4 more in the docket. Time is short. Now people need to have a voice, and I will continue fighting it and forward on all of the issues I've worked to them.
I'm just going to add to that because Councilman Watson is doing a little to say himself. I don't know that we've seen as dramatic a turnaround in one council district in this short a time, any time in my adult lifetime. If you think about what this council district looked like 2.5 years ago, when we started, it was entire post offices surrounded with encampments. It was people up and down streets, people getting into churches and hospitals, and you had businesses that were at risk of going out of business because they could get access to that. Now to have a place where he led in first conversations, first transitions, and making sure we were doing something that was going to work for the community and for folks that were homeless. And now 2 years later, we don't have a single encampment left in the city. There is not any living in a tent in District 9. Those folks are all in housing and its services. We moved 7,000 people into shelter, 5,000 permanent housing. It's the largest reduction in homelessness in the city industry, starting in District 9. And it's not just what he's gotten done. It's how he's gotten it done. What it takes to get big things done here is you have to be able to build broad, diverse coalitions of your residents in your district. We bring together a small business owner and an activist and a biker and a entrepreneur. And then you got to build broad coalitions in the council of people that can come together around these issues. And Council lots of them do both of those things, which I think is the recipe for both making a big impact on the council, but also just feeling like everyone in the district feels like they're heard and seen and valued. And that's the way government's supposed to work. I think he's done a fantastic job. Thank you, sir. That's true.
I think you both done a fantastic job. I applaud both of you because clearly you work together well. You've accomplished so much in your first mayoral term. And that brings me to my last question. Both of you have such an extensive background in community advancement. Councilman Watson in public policy and Mayor Johnston through education, through your work with Gary Community Ventures, and now with the tremendous work that you've done. And you have been working through some very, very difficult crises that have come your way during your term. So how would you encourage and inspire Denver residents to stay engaged through this process and make sure their voices are heard?
That's a great point. I mean, I think that I think the Denverites have a lot of reasons to be excited and to be proud of what they've done in their city. For Christ's sake, you weren't expecting like having 40,000 migrants arrive or like processions or others. And the things that they did want to take on to say, yes, let's reopen downtown. Yes, let's get people off the streets and into housing. I think there's a real sense that Denver is on a comeback now. Denver is on the rise. I had a bunch of money. I've been buying real estate in Denver, but I don't. So somebody else should. So I feel like what people should, I hope, see is that when you stay at something and you engage, you make a difference. I described it in my State of the City as learned hopefulness, which is like you are hopeful because you learned that hard work pays off, not because you're naive or you're dreaming. It's because you know if I get one neighbors and you work hard at this thing, make a difference. Denver has done that over and over and over, and I feel like that should build our courage and our conviction that we are ready for the hardest of things because we made it through things harder than this.
That I can agree more.
And I'll add just very quickly, I think one of the things I always try to harken back to, and I know Mayor Johnston does it, saying I am a history nerd. I literally, when I was a kid, I would sit and read Encyclopedia Britannica. That was my study time. That was my downtime to just sit and read and learn about folks. And one of our shared heroes is Mayor Federico Peña, and he always spoke about imagine a great city. And I think what I always harken back to as a city council member now, the responsibility of executing on that great city that Mayor Peña imagined, and that great city that Mayor Johnston is now building. I reflect on really why are we in this, and who are we doing this for? And for folks who will maybe feeling a little bit down on truly where the economy's at, maybe some stuff has happened in the federal government where they feel directly targeted by administration and see the loss. We as a city, as Mayor Johnston said, we've been through these things before. We have seen ups and downs. We see dips. We've seen highs of the highs. Our focus must be looking one step ahead and planning for 5 years beyond that. And we're doing this. They don't have to trust that this government, this city government is doing it. Watch us. The idea that this mayor came in with the idea of housing 1,000 folks, 5 months, he had that forward. That idea wasn't simply housing 1,000 folks in 5 months. That idea was putting something in front of the people who for maybe a decade before felt that we could not move on the biggest issues facing us, that we just couldn't get over that hump. He put one of the biggest things forward that any large city mayor has got, and we accomplished it in 5 months. And so there's not much that we cannot do as long as we're doing it along with the people, as long as the people are driving the steps forward. So I am deeply appreciated and humbled to be a servant in this government and to serve along with this amazing man that I've known for almost 30 years. I met in 2006, 2005. I had a community meeting in someone's house talking about education. He has the heart to lead. He has the mind and people around him. And most of all, he has a conviction that now's the time to take action. And I'm excited to be in this government, and I'm excited to be at work with Civic at this time.
Well, thank you both so much for sharing your time with me and for the virus Denver bond.
It's great to see you.
Appreciate it.
All right, Ruby. Good to see you.
Thank you all for listening. I know I learned a lot in this conversation, and I hope you did too. And thank you to Mayor Johnston and Councilman Watson. To learn more about the Vibrant Denver Bond, visit vibrantdenver.com. Then look for ballot measures 2A through 2E during the November 4th election. For more exclusive coverage of real stories, real people, and real purpose, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share what you've learned with your friends and family. I'll see you next time right here on The Exchange.